Victor's perspective. I come round a corner in a corridor on deck 17, in the ship's central section. The first thing my attention snaps to is a pair of arms, about 30 meters away, of a girth and power that I'd be sorely tempted to sell my soul for. The next thing I notice is a set of shiny robes, and a long, straight, jet black hair. The last thing I notice is the hushed tone that Emiko is talking to Fran in, a mix of consoling and exasperated.
No, I can't see it anymore, but it doesn't matter. It's a perfectly natural, normal and healthy part of your body. One that looks ugly, says Fran in a flat tone, though I've known her long enough to be able to tell when she's miserable about something. Her hand moves to the short hair at the back of her head, to trace its fingertips over the place I know her occipital bun is.
I think it looks lovely,
asserts Emiko.
Fran starts.
Stutter.
Emiko interrupts impatiently.
You want to base anything off of insults flung at you by someone like that? Yes, that man had such good taste. Couldn't you tell from the lovely body he designed himself? Oh, and was so reasonable and measured in all of his other viewpoints.
Suppressing a snort at Emiko's withering sarcasm, I decide to announce myself. Hey Fran, hey Emiko, you get asked to Cap's office too? I say cheerfully, casually, louder and from further away than I normally would, acting for all the world like I wasn't just accidentally eavesdropping on their private and sensitive conversation. Fran whips her head around like I've just caught her doing something both shameful and illegal. Emiko, on the other hand, plays it much, much cooler, turning her head to me and smiling in the most natural and nonchalant way you can imagine.
Indeed so, Victor. I can't wait to hear what it's about. Perhaps another lost colony, maybe another castaway, or perhaps another Revankiss raid. I'm beginning to wonder if fate might be conspiring to keep us from our final destination.
As I catch up to them, I wave a hand in reassuring dismissal. Sure as nothing, probably just an FYI about something trivial. To Qual's perspective. My office door opens, and in walk 3 Terrans. Ah, good, you're here, I say, really to Victor and Emiko, but being careful not to exclude Hunter. What's this about, Cap? asks Victor, straight to business as the trio takes seats across my deck from me. I gesture to the elastomer-clad form of the woman sitting next to me, and say, I shall let Twiller explain. The 3 Terran faces turn to the woman in unison.
So,
begins Twiller, opening a map of the galactic region we're currently navigating.
6 days ago, we entered what is known as the Great Eastern Desert.
Fran gives a confused frown, seeming to be struggling with the metaphorical use of the word desert in that sentence.
Twiller quickly clarifies that it's not a literal desert, it's called that because...
She brings up an overlay showing every inhabited system in green and every crater world in red. The region we're currently in, at the outer edge of which sits our final destination, is almost completely devoid of them.
Of the relative poverty of sapiens supporting and producing planets. It's deserted. It's also on the edge of the galaxy that has been arbitrarily assigned as East, and it's the largest such in known space, hence Great Eastern Desert. Until around 35 years ago, the area where the bulk of the UTC's worlds were was referred to as the Lesser Western Desert for the same reason. It was thought that there was little to nothing there.
Alright, says Victor, with the tone of someone trying not to sound impatient for the point to come.
The thing is, until around 200,000 years ago, there was a fairly well-trafficked space lane that ran across it, north to south.
The route is highlighted, a few days' journey ahead of us and perpendicular to our direction of travel.
It was created to connect the Agek and Nephti cores around 1 million years before the formation of the Galactic Union. As the years passed, new lanes were laid down that bypassed the area, and new advancements in FTL tech were made. It was less and less in demand, Eventually, not even the historic value could justify the resources that had to be spent on its maintenance, and the route was closed. "So, what's the issue?" asks Emiko, her tone having all the patience that Victor's lacked. "Well," hesitates Twiller, "right here." The map zooms in massively to show only the space between our current position and the place she's indicating. Is a derelict space station that used to serve that lane. The signals coming off of it have been irregular.
"Irregular how?" asks Victor, his eyes narrowed.
"Well," she says, half shrugging, half grimacing, "the fact that it's putting off signals at all, for a start. It's supposedly 40,000 years abandoned. It should be as inert as any other lump of space debris. Other than that, I can't really say. They're just weird in ways it's really difficult to explain in meat space terms."
Victor frowns. "Okay, can you interpret any of them? Any actual intel you can give us about them?"
"It's mostly just garbled noise, but flashes of coherent thoughts occasionally peek through, never with any context though."
Emiko leans forward.
"How confident are you that there's any intelligence behind these signals, Twiller? Could this just be a malfunctioning old computer that occasionally spits out something resembling intelligence?" "I would stake my sentience on there being at least one sentient being aboard that station, ma'am," says Twiller with rock-solid confidence.
"So," I interrupt, "that's the situation. We don't know whether it's squatters, or castaways, or what, but there's someone aboard a space station that should be long abandoned. They may be sending out signals for some purpose. Perhaps they're trying to signal rescue. We don't know. The reason I ask both of you here is that I wish to discuss the possibility of a short detour to this station to check what the situation actually is. Emiko, as the expedition coordinator, this would need your approval. Victor, you, Brunhilde, Toon and Miss Hunter will be the ones I am proposing to send aboard this station and search for any strandees. What do you say?" Victor's perspective. I'm aboard the Swift Claw with Toon, Samus and Fran. I pick up my helmet and place it onto my head, pushing it down and locking it into a seal with the collar of my uniform. I pick up one of the metallic gauntlets in front of me and slip it over my left hand, sealing it to my cuff. Then I repeat the process with my right hand. "Vacuum mode," I state into my helmet, causing the breathable fabric all over my body to instantly become airtight. I take a brief moment to appreciate Toon's helmet. More or less like mine, but with blue sensors and ear cones on either side. I love the sci-fi space elf aesthetic it gives her. Alright. Fran, you check Samus's and my suits. Samus, you check me and Toon. I'll check Toon and Fran, and Toon, you check Fran and Samus, I instruct. A few minutes follow, as each of us both performs and submits to 2 separate inspections. No problems are found. "Well, that was a waste of time," chuckles Samus. "Won't be a waste of time on the day it saves someone's life, Samus," I say sternly. She doesn't answer, and because her face is covered by a helmet, I've only got her body language to glean the, "Yeah, no shit, Sherlock," that I'm guessing she's thinking. Alright, we're getting close. Everyone in. I gesture to the airlock, deployed around the door right now. We file inside, and the door shut and sealed behind us. I can hear the steady hum of the air being pumped from the room, which gets fainter and fainter, as there's less and less air for it to travel through. The negligible layer of air, trapped between my suit and me, expands, not being opposed by an atmosphere's pressure anymore. My suit swells up, as it's lifted about a centimeter off of its anti-friction lining in all directions. My helmet injects more air to maintain the pressure. It gets it almost perfect, but my ears do pop a bit. I can't reach my nose for the Valsalva maneuver, so I settle for stretching my jaw to try and unpop them. The flexible parts of Samus's, Fran's and Toon's suits all visibly swell up, just like mine. It's incredible how much resistance you realize you face just moving through air when it gets taken away. Moving your limbs in a vacuum always feels disconcertingly, uncannily easy, like someone who you can't feel touching you is helping you. You're so used to having to factor the energy necessary to overcome air resistance into all your equations for how much force to put into your actions that, when it's gone, all your movements feel too strong, too powerful. The decrepit old space station comes into view. Instantly, I have a pit of unease in my stomach, but I can't tell what's wrong. My mind shows me a bunch of images that have nothing to do with the current situation. An earth insect landing in the jaws of a carnivorous plant which close around it. Divers coming up from the deep sea. A name comes into my mind. Petrikov? No. Petrikov is Olga's last name. It wasn't Petrikov. It was Petrov. Stanislav Petrov. A black and white photo of a young man with short, dark hair and wearing a 20th century military dress uniform swims into my mind. It's been years since I learnt about him. Why has my brain decided to remind me about him now? We're getting closer to the docking port, and I still can't work out what it is that's causing me this anxiety. If I abort the docking just because I've got a bad feeling about this, I'm going to look fucking crazy. The door lines up with one on the outside of the ship. My breathing gets fast. We clamp. My heart is pounding. I see inside the station where the shuttle's lights illuminate a dank corridor. My subconscious is screaming at me. The Swiftclaw's internal doors open, and I decide that right now, I don't care if I end up looking crazy anymore. I dart behind Toon and put my hands on her shoulders to try and push her to the floor as I shout, "Everyone breathe out! Get down on the ground and brace yourself!" Mid-sentence, I'm interrupted by the station doors opening, breaking the seal between the vacuum chamber we're in and the supposedly unpressurized corridor. Hundreds of kilos of air, traveling at roughly the speed of sound, hits Toon, collapsing her airtight suit and blasting all 40 kilograms of her into my front. An imperceptibly minuscule amount of time after, the wall of air hits me too. My eardrums are in immediate agony, but I manage to empty my lungs just in time, so at least they don't burst. Me and Toon are flying backward through the air for what my adrenal dump makes feel like an age, but was probably, actually, a fraction of a second. Then my back hits the wall, hard. Toon hits my front and crushes my chest between her own momentum and the solid wall. I hit the floor and wheeze as I struggle to fill my lungs back up after being winded. "You... alright, Toon?" I choke. "Not... dead," she answers. My hearing's blown out from the rapid change in pressure, so I can't actually hear her, but, from the way her words are translated, she seems about as much the worse for wear as I am. I look over to where Fran and Samus are gingerly picking themselves up from the places they landed. On her hands and knees, Samus turns her helmet to face me and asks, "The fuck was that?"